Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brewing with Jim.
Hi there. I'm here.
He made it.
Joseph is here. Jim's here.
Indeed. I'm Joseph Jasper, co-host and question asker and friend and all that kind of
Friend
stuff.
indeed, yes.
Yeah. I'm with Jim Brewington.
You can't spend 60 half-hour segments with somebody and not form an opinion about them.
That's
but
fair,
at least
yeah.
you get to know them better. My opinion has
That's
been
very true.
I am thankful and we are good friends.
I fully endorse and agree with that message. It's been, I think I shared this 10 episodes ago on number 50 when we were talking about the highlights of this show, and I think we both shared just getting to know each other better. It's been tremendous.
Oh, I would recommend that for friendship.
Yes.
I know about the question beforehand. I do give it some thought.
Yeah.
I don't know about the second episode question.
That's right.
But I would recommend for friendship, if you want to develop a friendship with somebody, take them to lunch.
Absolutely.
Sit down without electronics and have a conversation eye to eye, face to face, and ask questions about them.
Yeah.
They will ask questions about you, maybe.
Yeah.
And you get to know somebody that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. Interrupted your introduction.
That was not an irrelevant, like you said, you know what the question is ahead of time. Our audience probably does just by virtue of seeing the episode title when they click on the episode. But anyway, just a quick introduction to this show. We get questions from our audience, and we try to provide wisdom and insight into them. So the question for this week, we've already kind of opened this tab a little bit, is how do I know if a friendship is toxic? That is a bit of a loaded question. It could go in a lot of directions, but Jim, where do you want to start off?
Toxic is a strong word. It means poison.
Yeah.
And poison does damage. So I'm always curious, who asked this question and where were they coming from when they asked it? That is to say, what was the reason that they asked the question?
Yeah.
I've had what I would call, I don't think I would call a toxic, I have had bad relationships. Yeah. I have had bad friendships. Yeah. Junior high, they're abundant. High school, they're, I don't know, abundant is right, but you can have, they're certainly vulnerable.
They happen. Yeah,
they happen.
Absolutely.
They happen. People in junior high and people in high school, and to a certain extent, people in college are not socially mature.
Sure.
And so they have...
I know full-grown adults that are not socially mature. But, yeah.
That's a large population. Me too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think if you're asking this question, you are cautious because you've probably had a relationship that's gone bad or that was bad.
Even if a bad thing happened in a relationship. Like one, I'm thinking of this. Like, I could see this question prompted by a situation where you have a good friend that for months and months and months is just normal and friendly. And in one instance, you discover that friend lied to you. I don't know why. I don't know what about. But, like, in that moment, it casts such a shadow over this friendship and probably makes you reevaluate.
That's
things,
interesting. I have had friends who have lied to me, and they remain friends.
Sure.
I have friends that I do not trust in certain areas, and they're still friends.
Sure.
But it doesn't affect me as a poison would. It doesn't influence me to do something that is bad or to change the direction of my values.
A great clarification.
Or away from that. Does the friend? Here's some questions you can ask yourself if you're not quite sure. Do they entice you to change your values? If you have a value that you do not steal, and they want to go see if they can get away with shoplifting, come with me. You can help me do this.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's a bad influence. It's taking you away from your values.
Yeah.
If you have sexual values and the other person wants to violate the sexual values, do you participate in that? No, you don't participate in that, even though there may be a temptation to do that. That's a bad influence. That's a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Do you think that you have to comply with the wishes of your friend in order to keep the friendship? Does it depend upon your saying yes to everything your friend wants to do? There's something very selfish about that. There's something controlling about that. Control in a relationship or manipulation in a relationship is, I'm thinking quickly, is going to be 100% selfish.
Yeah.
You're going to do it my way. I just thought of Frank Sinatra's song, I Did It My Way.
There you go.
The toxic relationship is I did it your way. That would be a whole nother song.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you could use the same lyrics, only just change that one pronoun. Just change that one pronoun. I jotted down some thoughts here about how you can know if a relationship is probably not good for you or isn't good for you.
Yeah.
Is the other person always keeping score? You lied to me 3 times, and
I've only lied to you once.
And I've lied only once. Therefore, keeping score even. You paid for lunch last time, and I have to pay for lunch this time, and that's minor, and that probably goes on.
That's probably kind of normal.
I wouldn't call that toxic, but I think guys don't think about that as much as gals do. I'm not sure. I'm right there. But is the other person keeping score and letting you know what the score is? That's really the essence of I have not forgiven you for something you have done wrong. And I'm bringing it up again.
That's right.
Another one is I think people who are passive-aggressive constantly are probably bad influences. By passive-aggressive, I mean that they will hint to you what they want from you instead of being straightforward. And that is a form of manipulation. Yeah. That is a form of control. It's subtle control, but it's not that subtle. Yeah. If I want a drink of water and I don't have one right there, I could ask my friend, could you get me a drink of water? That's not passive-aggressive. That's just aggressive. That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I sit there and say, I'm thirsty, that's more passive-aggressive. And then if I just sit there and look thirsty, and you don't get me the drink of water, you haven't read me correctly.
What exactly does looking thirsty
I don't know for sure, but I'm looking thirsty, and you're supposed to pick up on that, and the conclusion is going to be, if you don't behave the way I want you to behave, you don't love me.
Yeah.
Or you think I'm second-class citizen. You have to figure out my needs, anticipate them, and then satisfy them.
That's right.
And that's a toxic relationship. That's not good. Are they constantly blaming you for their problems? Is it your fault?
Yeah.
If you hadn't done this, then this wouldn't have happened. Who wants to be in a relationship like that? The guillotine could fall any time, and you don't know when it's going to fall. I would say that's a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate, and I'm sorry, I don't want to cut off.
No, please.
But I appreciate you've redefined this question in my head almost immediately when we started the episode.
Really?
Because you honed in on the word toxic, and you defined what toxicity is as being, like you said, poisonous. And there's a distinction between having a bad friend, a friend who's just maybe kind of like a deadbeat who just contributes nothing.
Right.
Versus a friend that is poisonous.
Oh, there is a difference.
There's a huge difference. And the distinction there, and there's something I want to draw out of this after I clarify this. The distinction there is, how is it affecting you? If I have a deadbeat friend that contributes nothing, I largely get to just live my life, and they could vanish and my trajectory wouldn't change.
Right.
Right.
You wouldn't notice even.
And that in many ways is what we would call a bad friendship, but it's not destructive, the toxicity part, the poisonous part, like you said, disregarding you, being passive aggressive, changing or going against your influences and your values, that kind of stuff is dangerous. At the same time, some of the best friends that you can have will also change you. And so I don't want to label I don't want to label a friend changes who you are as a universally bad thing.
It's not.
Oftentimes, and I can think of so many examples, that it's my friends that have inspired me to be better or push harder.
Yes.
So the change aspect is not the problem in and of itself. It is the negative change, what we've defined here, poisonous, and that is what you've called toxicity. I just wanted to clarify and appreciate that. Yeah.
No, thank you. Of course, our relationships can change us. I hope they do.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple of more questions that could be asked, but I don't know that they're really important. Is the other person manipulative? Is the other person jealous of anybody who is around? Are they afraid of losing you, and therefore they become possessive or gripping on your relationship, and they don't want you to hang out with anybody else? And if you do go to lunch with somebody else, or you go to a ball game with somebody else, I don't like that, and they make that known.
Sure,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that is uncomfortable. Everybody who's in friendship receives some benefits.
Yeah.
And I would say they receive some effect. You said that.
Yeah.
There is an effect that comes from being in relationship. If it's not positive, the relationship's going to go away.
Sure.
If a person is desperate for friendship, for a friendship with even a particular person, they'll hang on to a toxic relationship because of their desperation to be in relationship with somebody else. That is a bigger issue.
Yeah.
But if I could bounce off what you said, I would suggest that the person who is looking for a friend, always pick a friend who is more mature than you are. And I mean emotionally more mature.
Yes.
So that you can follow that example, who is socially more mature, more polite, more interactive in a positive way, have just grown up.
Absolutely.
And then hang out with that person. And I can think of friends I've had who have taught me how to behave socially. Hang out with somebody who is, if you're a Christian, who has walked with the Lord a little bit longer than you have.
Yes.
And knows a little bit more. Not that they're pounding the Bible down your throat, but that by their behavior, you can see that they have a relationship with Christ, and you're walking with them, and Christ is walking with both of you.
Absolutely.
And so you can pick up on things like that. If you're a student, hang out with somebody who is academically more mature than you are, not someone who is saying, let's don't do the homework, let's don't study, let's go do this instead, but someone who wants to, who does encourage you to learn.
Yes.
Not to get good grades necessarily, but to learn. And you can look at those characteristics, can't you, in a potential friend? If the room was lined, people were standing up on all four walls of the room in single file all around, and you had to pick one of them to be your friend, what criterion would you use, or criteria plural? What would you think about? And that's an impossible situation, of course. I mean, you could go by.
That'll be my surprise, Jim.
You could go by good looks
today.
No, don't. You can go by good looks, or you can buy. I don't like ugly people. I don't like piercings. I don't like tattoos. I don't like curly hair. I
like the idea as just like an axiom almost, or a piece of wisdom of like, make friends of the people that inspire you, and that are good at what they do
Yes.
and so forth. And I think of like, our high school principal, James Walker. Like,
Yes.
I've known him for over a decade. We've been very close friends for that time. And like he inspires me to be a better teacher and a better professional and stuff like that. And like his friendship means a lot to me as a result. But we also have so many ridiculous, inside jokes, and we talk about the Dodgers, and we talk like whatever, right? There's kind of like
What's a good subject right now?
We just won the World Series as we're recording
this. Will be aired later, but
yes.
But
I heard this thing. I forget if I've shared this on this show before, but it's a fun thing that sits in the back of my head ever since I heard about it. And it's this idea of you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. I don't remember if I've shared that with you or on this show before.
No, I don't recall that.
But it's a fascinating
I'm working
thing.
that thought.
And if you pick who are the 5 people in life that you spend the most time with, for both of us, our wives are going to be number one. But then beyond that, say 3, 4, 5 other people.
Our dog.
Okay. But you can start to pick out characteristics and interests and even mannerisms.
Yes.
Figures of speech. And you suddenly realize, like, I've got a little bit of all these people in me. Mm-hmm. And that's such a fascinating truth.
Well, wouldn't that be true if the other person had negative characteristics
Absolutely.
and was toxic?
And that's my point.
Therefore.
And that's my point.
Yes.
You want the people that you hang out with the most.
You will be influenced by them. Let's put that down as an axiom. That's an absolute. You will be affected.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Influence is non-negotiable.
It's
It's just not.
True.
You will be influenced by the people you are around.
Do you think that a person will look at a friend and say, I want to be influenced by this person? I'm not sure that you think so.
I do, yeah.
And if the other
not every friend, not every person.
No.
But
But if the other person is a friend, a close friend by time spent with them, would you look at that and say, I don't want to be like that part of you? And I think I don't go through that thought process too much.
Are you asking, like, is the question, maybe I'm interpreting this correctly, of like, I want to be influenced by this friend in this area, but not another?
I don't understand.
Like, if I have a friend who's a really good teacher, but not a Christian, and I say, I want to look up to you as a teacher, but I'm not going to get any religious-y whatever out of you.
Oh, yes.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. One of you and I've talked about this before. One of the values in my life, the characteristic I want to be around is sense of humor.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be around humorless people.
That's why you love hanging out with me.
Well, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody who is a clown 24/7. I mean, there are times to be serious, and there are times.
I'm a clown 23/7.
23/7.
Yeah. There's 1 hour of a day you get serious Joseph, and it's when we record 1 hour a week, and it's when we record Brewing with Jim.
I think that we can pick our friendships.
Yes.
We can't pick our family, but we can pick our friendships. And once we are in one, are we stuck? Or can we get out of that or kind of drift away or withdraw or dilute the intensity of the relationship? Yeah, you can do all of that. But when I have seen people behave and emotionally, academically, spiritually, socially, all of that, and thought, I would like to be a friend with that person. And I have gone up to them and said, I would like to know you better. I would like to be your friend. I don't say I'd like to be your friend, but I would like to get to know you better. Could we do that, or would you like to?
I've heard it said, I think this is so special. I haven't actually used this on someone in real life myself, but I heard a friend of mine share that with someone else that he had met someone that he just got to know. They hit it off over like a dinner conversation within a larger group.
Okay.
And at the end of that dinner, they had officially now met each other and kind of had some like touching off points. And he told that person, he said, "I see you as a future friend."
Oh, whoa.
And I love that terminology.
Oh, I like it too, and I've never
like,
thought of that.
It's like almost a promise of sorts of like, this is off to a great start and there's more to come.
Work friends are of a different kilt. They are because we are good friends, I guess, at work, but we never see each other off campus or outside of the work situation. There are people that who work here that I would like to socialize with, and by socialize just means be with off campus or come to the house or go to a ball game or something. And I have approached that, and there are times when it has not been reciprocated.
Sure.
What then? Well, I just back off.
Sure.
Then? It takes two to tango here.
It does. Yeah.
To be a friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Did we do the toxic part? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Here's don't hang out with these people and eye these other people for their maturity, for their good influence, and befriend them.
Yeah. I think the takeaway from this that I have, and if we can conclude with this,
sure,
it's the idea again that influence is inevitable.
Yes.
Proximity to other human beings will change you.
Yes.
And there's no escaping that fact. But being conscious of what that influence is a really important part of maturation as a human.
Yes.
Recognizing how the other person is changing you is critical. And noting those things and being aware of them in order to say, is this a positive influence or a negative influence? And then diving into those positive influences and cutting off the negative influences.
Good.
Fundamentally, I think that's
one more thought, and that is am I a toxic friend to somebody? And am I being the wrong kind of influence? And the summary of that thought, to correct it, the antidote to that poison, is be the kind of friend you would want to have.
I love it.
I'm done.
Is that not some form of the golden rule as well, right?
Yes.
I love it. All right, let's close that out. Let's go to our second segment.
Okay.
The second segment is always something that you don't know ahead of time. It's usually a pretty silly or fun or introspective question.
And anxiety producing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We just mentioned a few minutes ago, we're recording this a little bit after the Dodgers won the World Series.
Yes.
This question's not about baseball.
A few days before the election.
Exactly. I mean, it's November 1st as we're recording this. We can just tell our audience.
All Saints Day.
All Saints Day, indeed. As this episode airs, however, this episode is going to come out on December 24th.
Oh, Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So my question for you today, Jim.
Oh, my gosh.
Is, as you were growing up, walk me through a typical Christmas in your family. What traditions, were there certain celebrations or anything like that? What did Christmas look like growing up in the Brewington household?
Well, I was fortunate to have a good family. Mom and Dad, who loved me, they stayed together until death parted them. My brother and I were in that family, of course. I had a sister as well who was much older. But we pretty much had tradition. And the tradition was that we went to church. I was in the Anglican communion at the time. I was an Episcopalian, and we had midnight service. And the midnight service, we were there. We started at 11:30, so that about time for communion was at midnight. Mm-hmm. And midnight, of course, is the entrance to the first day of Christmas, of which there are 12. Not celebrated by the mass populace, but okay. We would go there, and I'm a little kid, and my brother's a littler kid, and we are midnight, and we're kind of sleepy, but we have the tree at home, and we have the gifts at home, and we were allowed to open one gift on Christmas Eve. And so it was really Christmas morning when we got back there after church. So we opened that one gift. Before church, we had dinner, and the dinner was always oyster stew. Wow. We always had oyster stew. My mom made it from scratch. It was really good, and probably my association of the oyster stew with the joy of Christmas makes me still like oyster stew. I think Debbie would gag if she had to have oyster stew. And
Sure.
so there was that tradition, and then there was getting up on Christmas morning and rubbing your eyes, and you're in your pajamas and going out and then opening the gifts. And it was pretty common.
Absolutely.
You know? I remember my brother's friend one time, they opened all of their gifts at their house. We were little boys. Opened all the gifts, and there was no film in the camera when they took the pictures. Well, we had to have film, of course. We didn't have electronic. So they wrapped all the gifts up and redid the whole thing. And and put the film in the camera and took the pictures.
Take two.
Yeah, take two.
Look surprised.
Exactly. But it was pretty traditional Christmas. Yeah. And we still do most of those things, sans oyster stew. But we go to church on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Yeah, for me, I associate, again, pretty traditional, like normal. We didn't do anything out of the ordinary, just to be clear, but decorating the house, decorating the outside of the house. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I forgot to say one of the traditions
something.
of Christmas in the Anglican Church, at least in the parishes that we attended, there was the hanging of the greens on Christmas Eve. And we didn't decorate or put trees up before Christmas Eve. We did at the house, but we didn't in the church. And so there was the hanging of the greens, big social thing where all the people would come and decorate the whole church so that when people came in at 11:30 it was decorated, and it was decorated for the first time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway.
I love that. Again, for my family, nothing like super out of the ordinary. But I remember decorating the house. I remember decorating the tree with my mom. I remember having a lot of hot chocolate. Like that was just an inordinate, perhaps unhealthy level of hot chocolate.
Was it cold? Where were you? What city were you? Where were you?
I grew up in Southern California. I've been in Southern California my whole life.
Okay.
Other than going to Dort.
So
for
you
those
weren't
4
trekking
years.
through the snow.
No snow to think
unhooking the galoshes.
No. No.
Yeah, okay.
Never had to brush the reindeer.
No.
Nothing, no. I just associate, for me, I associate Christmas time, when I think back to my childhood especially, to just massive parties with my extended family. Every single year of my childhood, Christmas Eve was for my mom's side of the family, and Christmas Day was my dad's side of the family. And those are both big families, especially my dad's side of the family. My dad is one of 6. And all of them got married and had, multiple kids.
Oh,
and so
by the million cousins.
And I'm the youngest of all of those, of that generation. There are 17 grandchildren to my grandparents on my dad's side of the family.
So were there gifts for all these people? Did you what?
Sometimes
you gathered together.
We would gather together. It would mostly, every family would have their own Christmas morning with their nuclear family.
Yes.
So that's all the presents from mom and dad to the kids would go there.
Yes.
But in the evening with the extended family was always like grandpa and grandma's presents for the grandkids, or if any of the brothers got, presents for each other,
right.
Or, all my uncles and aunts would exchange, little things, or they would get something for my grandparent. Like, you're right.
But all this created a memory to look back on now.
Yeah.
And does that influence the way that you have and are intending to have that kind of tradition in your family?
Yeah. It's funny because like I associate Christmas with these big family parties. The Jasper family, like my dad's side, like I said, he's one of 6. They all got married. They all had kids. I'm the youngest of that generation of grandkids.
Of the cousins.
Yeah. So I have 16 older cousins. And many of them were much older than I was. So even when I was a child, I had married cousins. I had cousins with kids and so on. So that group would be
huge family.
50, 60, 70, people.
Debbie, my wife, has a family like that. Legions of people.
When I think of how that influences me sort of today, or I'll contrast those days to Christmases this year. My grandparents have passed away. Some of my uncles and aunts have moved out of state. A lot of my cousins live out of state. And those big family parties don't happen anymore. Really, once my grandfather died 2006, my grandmother died 2015 or 16. Once she passed away, like we didn't have those parties anymore, So I miss those, and that's like a nostalgic edge of thinking about Christmas. I don't know. When I think about like how I want to celebrate Christmas or how I want to maybe celebrate Christmas in the future, like in the far future, it's like, man, I would love to be in my grandparents' shoes for what those parties were when I'm their age, and just being, what could be better than just like surrounded by like a bunch of people that love you and
I think that's the essence of what you're saying.
Yeah.
That those in the audience, you probably have your own traditions. There may be nobody left.
Sure.
I have wondered, what if all my immediate family predeceased me?
Yeah.
And I'm the one left, and do I just sit here? Or do I get invited, dutifully invited to somebody's house for Christmas dinner? That I really don't look forward to.
Sure.
That probably won't happen.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is form a tradition and enjoy it.
Yes.
And the essence of that is being around people
Absolutely.
you love and who love you.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a good, a more emotional response than I think maybe either of us were planning on giving to this question.
Well, there's no plan from me. I don't even know what the question is.
It's true. Anyway, thanks for indulging that. That was really sweet. To our audience,
thanks for listening.
Thank you as always for listening. We have an email account set up that is brewingwithjim@gmail.com. We want to invite you to write us if you have a question that you want us to answer, or if you just want to reach out and share a little bit about yourselves. We're thankful for that. And again, that's brewingwithjim@gmail.com. Until next week, thank you for listening. And that does it for another episode.
Take care. Thanks for being there.
The topics that are covered and the answers that are offered during episodes of Brewing with Jim are designed to mine the wisdom attained from a life of pastoral ministry and care. They do not constitute professional or clinical training or expertise in the areas of counseling or mental health. CVCS and its podcast network want to provide a platform for the discipleship of our community. Brewing with Jim is our attempt to foster that environment in a format that is accessible for everyone to participate in. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during the show are the speaker's own, and they may or may not represent the views, thoughts, or opinions of Capistrano Valley Christian Schools or its faculty. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. Capistrano Valley Christian Schools is a Christian JK-12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Be sure to check out, subscribe to, and leave a review of this show and the other shows on our network on your podcast player of choice. Doing so supports the school community in a multitude of ways. For more information about the CVCS Podcast Network or any of our other shows,
check out cvcs.org or email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the whole network, this is Mr. Jasper saying thank you again for listening, and stay tuned for more.